Hi and welcome to the webinar this afternoon, Marathon Nutrition, How to Eat Right for Best Performance. I'm Kerry Fitzgibbon. I'm a marathon runner and trainer, and I will be interviewing Dr. Shirley McIlvaney this afternoon. Now, some of the things that we're going to cover this afternoon are the secret ingredient, it's how basically you can utilize fat for energy. Get this right and you will avoid hitting the wall in a marathon. This is just really fueling your body correctly. We're going to be talking about what type of foods that you need to maximize your performance, but also what foods you should avoid as well. And it's just really, really interesting. Some of the foods that we're going to be talking about today, you wouldn't even have any idea that you shouldn't be eating them. Also, the different types of sugars, what's good, what's bad for you, what's going to give you that instant hit during a race, and what's going to actually affect you, and stuff that you shouldn't have. How to stay hydrated as well, when to have those electrolytes in races and in training as well, and what to eat, when to eat, and how much you should eat during training and race day. There is such a thing as eating too much, even when you're training for a marathon. So we're going to be talking about what you need to be at your optimal race weight. Okay, for marathon runners, this is generally a little bit leaner, okay, because for every pound, and so what's that, 2.2 2.2 pounds to a kg. So for every pound, so it's well under a kg, you carry extra on your body can make a difference of a minute in your racing times. Okay, so you really want to be in optimal condition, but you want to be in optimal condition anyway. It just makes you feel so much better. I mean, I'm like everyone else. I even though I'm a marathon runner and I do a lot of training, if I don't watch what I'm eating, I can certainly put on weight really, really easy. And there's times, at the beginning of the season when I'm starting to train for a marathon, that I've, let myself go, especially after Christmas time, let myself go a little bit. I have a little bit of a carb addiction going on, so carbohydrate addiction, and we're going to be talking about that and why they're not necessarily what you should be eating for your marathon as well. But I find that, if I have got, even if I'm carrying like half a kg or a kg, I just find I'm a little bit more sluggish and I just don't feel as good. So we're going to be talking about how you can actually do this, but still have a really good diet, balanced diet, perfect, diet for your training, and so that you won't lose energy or lose your performance as well. In fact, everything that Dr. Shirley will be covering today will be all about making sure that you guys are at your optimal, so that will be absolutely fantastic. Okay, so covering how to eat right for best performance, how to utilize your fat for energy, how to avoid hitting the wall in your training, how to stay hydrated, and how to lose those extra pounds that may be holding you back from your goals, and how to do it without actually jeopardizing your training. Okay, now also, just wanted to let you know that you might notice that I have a slightly different accent. To my American friends, it won't be slightly, it'll be considerably different, and you guys may think I'm talking too fast. I'm really sorry. I am Kiwi, so I'm a New Zealander. I tend to get really excited at times, so luckily you've got Dr. Shirley chatting to you, although you'll notice that she's got an accent too. But please just bear with us. This information is great, and you will get a lot out of it. Okay, so another thing I wanted to cover is that we're going to be speaking to you for around about an hour today, okay? And we have a lot to cover, and we're going to give you absolutely everything that we've got, so that you, in the end of the hour, you will have a lot of information, okay? But we're also going to show you that after the hour, if you want more information or if you want more help, that we're going to show you how you can get that as well, okay? So I hope that's okay with everyone, that at the end of this, we're going to show you, if you're interested in more help in Marathon Nutrition, we're going to show you how you can get that help as well. Okay, right, so just a little bit of housework. If you could turn your mobile devices off, make sure you take some notes, allow yourself to be present in these. I know that you'll probably be all trying to do 101 things at once. Switch off Facebook, switch off your mobile device, switch off everything else around you. Be present, because this information is, like, seriously, it is fantastic, and it's stuff that I absolutely love as a marathon runner and trainer. This is the stuff that I live, eat and breathe to hear. Anything that's going to really enhance my performance and make my fat burning a lot, better, or my body utilizing fat a lot better, is just hands down. I'm sitting in and buckling in for the hour. Now we've got a hands up facility over here. Actually, I'll let everyone put their hands up now. In fact, how many of you guys are from Australia? Put your hands up. Proof that we know we're excellent. Okay, I'm just going to put all your hands down right now. Okay, now, if you're from the States, put your hands up. It's an awful early, I think it's early hours of the morning there at the moment. Oh, we've got a couple of people there. Excellent, put your hands down. And any Kiwis? One or two of you guys. Any other places in the world? Oh, we've got someone from the UK. Cool. Excellent. Okay, right, we'll get on with it anyway. And what we're going to do now, if you guys want, we can provide slides at the end of this, okay? So what I want you to do is, we're going to have a Q&A at the end of this, so some questions and answers at the end. And can someone please remind me, send me a message through the chat box, which is right at the bottom here at the end, to remind me to send out the slides to you guys after this presentation, okay? Rightio, now let's get started. So who are we and why should you listen to us? Okay, I'm Kerry Fitzgibbon. I've been running for over 30 years. I've run 6 official marathons, but I've done over 50 plus mountain marathons, okay? And I've done adventure racing, so this is 24 and 48 hour adventure races. Done the Southern Traverse. It's an event in New Zealand. It's a 5-day endurance race, and I've also New Zealand body sculpting champion as well, okay, and a New Zealand multi-sport champion. So I've been at the top of my game in a lot of sports. What I did in my training that was very different to other people has enabled me to be able to help people get through their marathons and get through their races. So I give advice, and the way I train is very specific to being actually top of my game. But even if you don't necessarily want to be on top of your game, some of the techniques that I use and do, help you be able to get through. And it's including things like what we're going to be hearing today. It's including about giving the cutting edge information on nutrition, on how to eat right, how to get your head round, being able to do well, get your PB, get through your goals or whatever it is, okay? So that's enabled me to be top of my game. And I was also coast to coast multi-sport. So coast to coast is in a race in New Zealand. It goes from the east coast to the west coast. It covers over 360 or 70 Ks. And I did a 2-day event in that, and then I did a few 1-day events in that as well. It's quite a huge, big endurance race in New Zealand, okay? So that's pretty much enough about me. I want to talk about Dr. Shirley McIlvaney. She's our guest star today. Yay! Okay, so Dr. Shirley McIlvaney, she's had over 20 years as a food coach, okay? And she's a nutritional expert. Now, she is one of the top food coaches to personal trainers. So she's the person that personal trainers go to get their nutritional training so that they can train you guys, or so they can train their clients in that. So she helps with Cert 4 and qualifications in nutrition. She does that all throughout Australia. She's got clients all over the world. Shirley's also featured on TV. She's quite often interviewed by the news with all her cutting edge information on nutrition. She's author of quite a few books, including one of her books is a chocolate detox diet, so how you can have your chocolate and eat it too and still lose weight. So very, very happy to have Shirley on board. She's been, like I said, helping personal trainers, so she's top of her game in sports type nutrition, okay? So like I said, she's author, speaker and trainer. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to let Shirley introduce herself. Welcome, Shirley. Thank you so much for coming on board and helping us today. So Shirley, now tell me, you've done actually you just did an endurance race recently as well, didn't you?
Yeah, so it was more of a charity event rather than a race, but I did a 150-kilometer trek from Lismore to the Gold Coast on a street strider, which is an elliptical trainer. Some of you may be familiar with it, and it's not as efficient as a bicycle, so it requires a lot of energy and calorie burning to maintain a good speed on these. So 150 kilometers, one of those was quite a trek.
Wow.
I do have some experience in endurance events, not just of myself, but also my husband's a long distance runner and a GP as well, like myself.
Yeah.
So while we've been doing nutrition for the over 20 years ourselves, we've also been doing endurance events and training and helping people with their nutrition. So I understand what you're all going through, and I've been there myself, and hopefully I'll give you lots of hints and tips today that will help you improve your performance in your endurance as well.
Great. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I am going to be able to hopefully hand you over as the I've just forgotten. I'm trying to find the button now. How cool is that? I'm going to change present. I'm going to give Shirley access to present this, and then you can bring your slides up. Okay.
Okay. Okay, we're good to go.
Yep.
So, well, will I just go ahead and start then, Carrie? Yep.
Yep. Sure. And yep, that'd be great.
Okay, so hi everyone. It's great to be here in the webinar. I hope that you're going to enjoy what I've got to say to you, and you can go away with some hints and tips that maybe you haven't heard before. Some of it may be challenging to you, challenging ingrained beliefs that we've all had for the last 20 or 30 years about what's healthy eating. But really the research is backing up everything that I say to you today. And hopefully you'll be able to go away and look at some other people's comments that are saying exactly the same thing as me. So it's not just me and my own. But I wanted to talk first of all about glycogen. Now everybody knows about glycogen and how we use it for energy. Glycogen is stored in our muscle, but mainly in our liver, and it's our short-term energy source. So whenever we need to run, suddenly, or you're doing a race, you start burning up glycogen. But the problem we've realized now with glycogen is that everyone has a limited amount. Some people have more than others, but at some stage you're going to use up all of your glycogen stores. And when that happens during a race, that's when you hit the wall, when you feel absolutely exhausted, that you've got nothing left and you can hardly put one foot in front of the other. That means that your glycogen stores have been completely emptied.
Are
So
there are
people,
there oh shoot, sorry. Are there is there in an event is there a is can you kind of tell that it's going to be happening? Is there a
well, I
signal?
think, um, well, when you start to feel tired and your legs start to feel very heavy, that could be a sign that you're approaching using up all of your glycogen stores, but it can hit quite quickly, and some
Yeah.
people feel great, and then all of a sudden, within 5 or 10 minutes, they start to feel really dizzy, um, maybe nauseous as well, um, completely, no energy left, nothing left in the tank. And that's why it's called hitting the wall, because it can happen really suddenly, like you've just hit a wall. Um, and so there can be no sort of warning signs coming up to it at all.
Hmm.
So, so recently, Olympic marathon runners, people who do these long endurance events, exercise physiologists, people have been looking around for how to get around this problem, how to make sure that people have enough energy to last for the whole race. And they've looked at using glycogen more efficiently and burning fat for fuel. So when you look at the training programs for Olympic marathon runners, they're now training their body to burn fat for fuel. So this is the important thing that you want to train your body to be able to do. The problem is that your body always burns carbs first. If it's got carbs there, if it's got glycogen in the stores, it'll always go to glycogen first, because that's the easiest way to get energy. It's easy to break down glycogen, it's harder to break down fat and use it for fuel. But if you can train your body to do this, then you won't hit the wall. You'll use up your glycogen more efficiently, but you'll also be burning at the same time, and the two things will be working together. In which case, you'll be able to go longer on your glycogen, but you'll also be burning fat throughout the race, and be able to go further and hopefully faster as well. So I'm going to talk about that, but I also want to point out that the quality of your diet is vitally important. So it's not just the macronutrients, it's not just carbs, protein and fat, but it's the quality that's so important. So not all carbs and not all protein and not all fat are the same. And if you're sourcing these from poor quality foods, it's going to affect your performance. So let's talk a little bit about burning fat for fuel. You really need to stimulate the enzymes that use fat for fuel. So if you're eating a lot of carbs, which a lot of runners do, and they keep loading up with carbs all the time, the enzymes that you use to break down glucose and store it as glycogen and then break the glycogen down, those enzymes are all fit and in tip-top working order themselves, but the ones that burn fats are not being used, and so the level of those goes down. So you've got to stimulate those enzymes that use fat for fuel and get high levels of them, and that way you're going to be burning fat for fuel. And then also the carbs, you've got to maintain your carb intake, but also good quality carbs. So not so much the sweets, the sweet sports drinks, you know, high fructose. You want to have good quality carbs, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a few minutes.
So you will be covering, you know, what types of carbs, you know, are the good quality carbs. And I know that just a second ago you said, you know, not all foods are equal and whatever else. So, you know,
yeah,
will you be going into that sort of thing as well a little bit?
Yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit in a minute.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so I want to talk a little bit more about inducing fat burning. And, you know, the exercise physiologists, they're always doing research and trying out different ways. What they found was that if you just rely on fat burning alone, that doesn't work either. It's got to be a combination of the two, of fat burning and carb burning. So, ideally, you know, if you're starting like 20 weeks out from a marathon, you can start inducing the fat burning. And one of the things you've got to do is increase the fat in your diet, but also, stop? You want to have days where you run in a fasted state. So you want to pick slow, easy run days. So maybe a day where you're doing a low to moderate intensity run in your training program. About once a week is a good thing, and then first thing in the morning. So overnight, you will have some glycogen stores that you haven't used up during the day, and they will be burned up during the night as you sleep. You'll be using some glycogen for your brain, just to keep the body processes going, but by the time the morning comes, you're going to be pretty low on glycogen. After about 12 hours of not eating, you've pretty much burned up all of your glycogen stores, so you're in a fasted state. So this is a good time to do a fasted run, and you will be then inducing the fat burning enzymes because there's no glycogen left, so you're going to have to run on fat. So that's why you want to do sort of low to moderate intensity. Doesn't want to be too intense, because you'll feel really weak, and you're forcing your body to use fat. So sometimes your body takes a little while to get used to this and get those enzymes built up. So you want to just don't put too much pressure on yourself. Low intensity about once a week, and fasted state in the morning.
So basically you're saying that, you know, you get up in the morning and you go out for your low intensity, moderate, you know, run, obviously not your 2-3 hour run, but, you know, under an hour kind of run, and you do it with no food on board, basically. So you do it in your fasted state.
Yes, that's right.
Okay, yeah.
So for your other runs during the week, for high intense runs, you do your carb loading as usual, but for once a week, you do a fasted run where you're inducing fat burning.
Does it work if, I mean, I'm assuming that, people that can't get up for that run first thing in the morning, I guess they would really, really struggle, or could they, if they've got to do a night run, can it be like a certain amount of hours that they don't eat prior to for this particular one?
Yes, so some people do actually do this in the afternoon, so
Mm-hmm.
like as soon as they've finished work, or in the evening. So as long as you've got like about 8 hours since your last carb meal, it's still going to work.
Okay, so 8 hours since your last carb meal.
Yes,
Yep.
yeah. So
Okay.
your glycogen stores are going to be low then. So if you can't fit it in first thing in the morning, you can fit it in the afternoon or evening.
Yep.
Okay, so I just want to talk here about fats themselves, what's good fats and what's bad fats. Um, okay, so start with healthy fats. Now, I just want to emphasize that we have all decided, all the doctors and most of the nutritionists and everything, we have got together and said, yes, saturated fat is good. There's nothing wrong with saturated fat. You've heard it maybe for the first time here, but I can assure you that in all the research journals, people are coming out and saying, yes, in the past we thought saturated fat was a problem, but now we realize it's nothing to do with the saturation of the fat. What it's actually to do with is the quality of the fat. So animal fat might well be bad for you, but not because it's saturated, it's because of the quality of the fat.
Yeah.
So
So,
you can
so all
eat.
those things that say fat-free in the supermarket, you can avoid them.
Yeah, you don't need to worry about them. And a lot of them, unfortunately, are processed and have a lot of sugar in them. So you've got to be really careful.
Yeah.
And you're probably better just to go for actual foods themselves. So butter and ghee and coconut oil, these are really good sources of fat. They happen to be saturated. And that's a good thing because they're less likely to be oxidized. So they last longer. They don't go off in the same way that other fats do. And they do confer some benefits. So butter and coconut oil have medium chain fatty acids in them, which are great for burning for fuel. So medium chain fatty acids are absorbed into your body and they can be used straight away for energy. They don't need to be broken down. So that's a great reason why coconut oil and butter would be good for your training.
So
And
prior to your training, like,
well, as part of your diet, I'm
yeah,
not saying eat them prior to
yeah,
racing, but I'm saying as part of your regular diet
yeah,
because they can be easily used for energy.
yeah. Because my
Okay, so all of
mum actually makes a really nice stir fry in coconut oil, and it gives it that extra
mm,
yummy taste.
yeah. Well, coconut oil and butter again are great for cooking because they're saturated, they're very stable when they're heated and they have a high flash point. But things like olive oil, you shouldn't really cook with them because it's easy to destroy them.
Mm.
And so one of the easy sort of rules of thumb is if it's liquid, you use it raw, and if it's solid, like coconut oil or butter, then you can use it to cook with.
Okay,
Um,
cool.
so that's something that a lot of chefs and cooks, members of the public, realize that you shouldn't cook with olive oil. What you can do with olive oil is mix it with a little bit of butter, and then it will raise the smoke point a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But for cooking, coconut oil, yeah, if you're doing Thai or Asian cooking, it has quite a strong flavor. So if you want a more Mediterranean flavor, then go for butter and maybe mix with a little bit of olive oil.
Yeah.
The other oils that are healthy are the nut oils, so walnut oil, macadamia nut oil. These are really healthy, and you can use them in your salad
Mm.
dressings, um, and any other places use oil. Avocados are great. They're a great source of healthy omega-6s, and again, nuts. Seeds are good as well, but they have some inflammatory chemicals in them, so not a huge amount of seeds, but some seeds like sunflower seeds, flax seeds are good. And also, it's really important to get plenty of omega-3. And when I say to patients, are you taking fish oil or omega-3, they all say, well, I've got them in the cupboard, but very few people actually take them. So, it's no good just buying them. You've got to actually take them every day. It's so important for your body, for your muscles. It's also really important for your brain as well.
I
And you
used
can
to
either
have,
go,
oh, sorry. I
yeah,
used to have, I think it was a teaspoon, I can't remember the exact measurement, but a teaspoon of flaxseed in my protein shake. Was And
Yeah,
so,
flaxseed's really good. It's a mixture of omega-3 and omega-6. The only problem is it's a slightly different form of omega-3 from the marine sources. Not everybody can absorb it and break it down particularly well, whereas we know that everybody can break down fish oil or krill into the
just
EPA and
Shirley, oh,
DHA.
next time that comes up, there's the third button down the bottom says, keep the colour scheme, don't show me the message again.
Oh, okay. All right, I'll click that next time it comes up. So, look, ideally, krill is the best omega-3 to take. It's, but it is expensive, and obviously, there's a concern about marine life that that we're going to be accessing most of the whale's food source, and so there's only a limited amount of krill around. But for humans, krill is the ideal. Fish oil that's been tested for mercury and plastics would be second best. And if you're a vegetarian or vegan, then flaxseed is your best source of omega-3 from plant sources. And I would suggest that I don't normally recommend brands, but I think that Dr. Udo's oil is the best source of plant-based omega-3 if you can get that, with added DHA, which is what our brains need, and that's made from algae, so it's a completely plant source. So if you're vegetarian or vegan, that's a really good source of omega-3.
Spell Dr. What is it, Dr.
Udo, UDO. So if you can go to health food shops, they'll know about Udo's oil because a lot of people take it now.
UDO. Oh, right.
UDO.
I've just typed it. So it's Dr. Udall. What is it? Flaxseed or krill? Flaxseed or oil?
Flaxseed, yeah. So it's a mixture of oils. So it's just called Udo's oil, and it's named after a doctor in Canada called Dr. Udo.
Okay. Right, everyone. I've just put that in the chat box for you guys to have a to write down. Oh, thank you.
So it's a little bit expensive, but it's a really, really good oil.
And really important for us marathon runners, especially, with the joints and that. I mean, we do put a lot of pressure on ourselves.
Yes, absolutely. And so it's really important to get that balance of omega-3 and omega-6 right.
Yeah.
And it should really be 1-to-1, but very few of us achieve that.
Yeah.
Right, here
so the third one down, Shirley. Yep.
Yep. Done that. Okay. So let's talk about bad fats, because you can be taking in a lot of bad fats that are going to increase inflammation, and trans fat is the one that everybody knows about. Trans fat is an artificial form of fat that is used because it doesn't break down. It's used a lot in supermarket foods, so baked goods like pies and sausage rolls and pastries and those sort of things. It's not something that occurs in nature, and it's not broken down by bacteria. Rats and mice won't eat it, so it is used in the processed food industry a lot. You also get it in non-dairy creamers, so those little tubs of artificial milk that you get in cafes and hotels and things, and also salad dressings. So those are things you want to avoid. You really want to be eating fresh food rather than any of these processed things, and particularly bottled salad dressings that you can buy in the supermarket.
Especially when you can make really nice salad dressings with your, olive oils and nut oils and things like that, and put a bit of lime juice and stuff in them. I mean,
yeah, absolutely, yeah. And so there's really no need to go to those commercial salad dressings, and they don't even taste that nice anymore either. And it's because they're using these trans fats.
Yeah.
Now, also animal fat. So it's not because the animal fat is saturated, but it's because the animals themselves are not that healthy. So if you think of originally a wild animal like a wildebeest or bison, what you have in America, these were animals that exercised all the time. They were eating grass, which is their natural food. They were roaming over thousands of kilometers a year, and so they were healthy animals. Their fat had a lot of omega-3 in it, or their muscle had a lot of omega-3 in it, and so when we ate those foods, we were getting healthy nutrients and healthy fats. But now you've got beef, it just stands around in the field all day. It's not exercising except to walk to the food trough and back again, and they're being fed grain, which is not their natural food, and also they've been fed a lot of antibiotics and growth hormones. So those animals are not healthy. They're inflamed, they have a lot of inflammatory processes going on in their body, and then we're eating their meat. So that's why meat and animal fat can be unhealthy. So the message is really organic. Eat organic meat, because they're not fed grain, they're grass fed, and that's another thing to ask about. Is this being grass fed and grass finished, which is really important. So it's not fed grain at any point in its life. So organic, grass-fed, wild if possible. So this is why kangaroo meat and emu and things are really good, because those animals are constantly exercising and they're eating a natural diet out in the wild. So you think, if you have a healthy animal and you eat parts of that animal, you're going to get healthy nutrients from it. If you eat an unhealthy animal, you're not going to be getting good nutrients from it.
Would that be almost the same as, and I've heard this bandied about quite a bit, and now I do the free range ones, but would that be the same as like when you're talking your chicken and your eggs as well?
Yes, absolutely. It's got to be the whole thing.
Yeah.
So when you look at the way chickens are kept, in these large barns, they're not allowed outside, they're fed grain all the time, and most of them are fed so that they grow really quickly, and then they can't support their own weight, so they can't exercise, they can't move. So you want free range chickens, you want chickens that are outside. Chickens eat a varied diet when they're allowed to do their own thing. They eat insects and bugs and spiders and things, and they scrabble around in the dirt outside. And if they're not allowed to do that, then they may be missing out on a variety of nutrients. So they're basically being fed grain to fatten them up so they have big breasts, because that's what we want when we buy chicken. We want a big breasted animal which has and they actually see the way they're breeding the chickens now to have much more breast meat than a chicken 50 years ago would have been a lot scrawnier and not as plump as the ones they're producing now.
Yeah. So basically the meat's not as good, and also some say that they produce stress hormones as well, and that stress hormone could be in the meat and so on and so on.
Absolutely, yeah. Okay. And when you talk to farmers, they'll tell you, if the animal's stressed before it's been slaughtered, you can taste it, you can taste the difference, because that adrenaline and those other stress hormones taint the meat. So, there's a whole lot of questions that you really should be asking. So is it free range? Is it outside? Is it organic? So it can be free range but not organic, so it can be still fed hormones and things. So you really want free range and organic chicken, and you want the same for your eggs, so free range organic eggs, not cage eggs. Yeah. And also you don't want any additives. So with eggs they also add colouring to colour the yolk. So these are all extra chemicals which you don't need and which are going to hold you back when you're running. So you really want the purest form of food to get you the best performance. Mm-hmm. And it's a bit like having a performance car. If somebody gave you a Ferrari, you'd be really careful about what sort of fuel you used and what oil you put in it and everything. And you've got to treat your body the same way. If you want to get that Ferrari performance, you've got to put Ferrari type food in it.
Excellent.
Okay, so processed foods have a lot of trans fats in them and inflammatory fats. When we look at omega-6, there's some omega-6s that are really good for us, like evening primrose oil, and then there's some omega-6s that are very inflammatory. And when we look at things like canola and sunflower oil, so I'm not talking about sunflower seeds which you eat, but the actual oil, that the cooking oils that they make, they can be very inflammatory, and it's because of the way that the sunflowers are grown and also processed into the oils. So there's a lot of heat and pressure and chemicals involved as well. So we end up with a product that's not very healthy, even though it comes from a seed that on its own could be quite healthy. So stay away from those kind of oils and use the healthy fats and oils that I mentioned for cooking. So running, we know that running is an inflammatory process. So when you're doing marathons or other endurance events, you really are pushing your body to its limits, and you get a lot of inflammatory chemicals produced during races and also afterwards. So really to keep your body working well and to avoid the scarring and fibrosis, which we know does happen over years and years of marathon running, you really want to have a very clean diet and reduce inflammatory foods. So we talked about bad fats and trans fats, but for a lot of people, wheat is quite inflammatory, and this seems to be becoming more and more common now that people are having wheat intolerance. It's not always easy to find out because the blood tests and things are not always accurate, but I can help people, anybody who's worried that they might be wheat intolerant. The best way to do it is to do an elimination for a month and just not eat any wheat products at all. And then do a wheat challenge. So eat lots of bread or pasta for 2 or 3 days and then see what happens. And usually people, when they give up wheat for a month, they start feeling really good. And then when they eat the 3 days of bread or pasta, and it's like 2 slices 3 times a day, then they really notice the difference. Maybe not the same day as they're eating the wheat, but up to a week afterwards. People can get pain, joint pain, muscle pain, tummy problems, headaches, nausea, depression, very common with wheat intolerance. So it's worthwhile finding out whether you're wheat intolerant, just by doing that simple process. And there's a number of athletes now who are going gluten-free and finding that their performance is improving. You know, tennis players, you know, runners and things, they're really noticing it makes a difference.
And everything that I'm reading, that's what they're all saying as well. So
yeah, so some people seem to be able to tolerate it. You know, there's a big genetic element in it, but a lot of European people, and particularly people from Celtic backgrounds, Northern European, do seem to have a problem with wheat. And of course a lot of Asian people as well, because wheat hasn't been part of their diet in the past. So it is worthwhile just trialing that. So then we go on to processed food. Of course, you know, there's lots of chemicals, and I could spend hours just talking about the sort of chemicals that are in our food, from flavorings to preservatives to emulsifiers, the things that affect what's called mouthfeel, so how foods feel it in your mouth. You use a lot of artificial chemicals to make that consistent, but those are things that get in the way of our bodies working properly. So you want to ditch all that stuff and eat fresh foods that you can see, this is a fruit, this is a vegetable, this is a piece of meat, and then put it together in a meal. That's really going to do your body the best. Again, fast food we know is the same, a lot of artificial chemicals, and then sweets and lollies. And I know some endurance runners do eat a lot of sweet foods to get the carbs. Got to be careful about fructose. And sugar in itself is quite inflammatory, so the more sugar that you eat, the more inflammation you're going to cause in your body, and we want to minimize the amount of inflammation. So let's talk a little bit about carb intake first of all. It's, you know, everybody is a bit different, but the sort of rule of thumb is around 3 grams per kilogram per day if you're not doing too much exercise, and if you're intensive training, you're doing more than 3 hours per day, you may need 10 grams per kilogram. And the thing to do is to trial it yourself and work out what's best for your body, and do it well in advance of the races. So don't be leaving it until a week beforehand to work out how many carbs you need during the day. You know, start well in advance and start experimenting with different levels of carb intake to find out what makes you feel the best. So symptoms of overtraining, so people who feel that they're very tired, they've got a lot of muscle fatigue and they're slow to recover, you've got to watch your protein intake, but you also might need to up your carb intake as well. So it's worthwhile, if you do feel that you're suffering from overtraining, is to look at those two and see you know, increase your protein intake a little bit first for a few days to see if that helps. If that's still not helping, then increase your carb intake and
What's the
see if that gives you more
what's the rule of
energy.
thumb with protein, or are you getting to that?
Yeah, I'm going to getting to
Okay,
protein a bit
okay,
later on.
okay, yeah, yeah.
But again, it varies, and you know, everybody's a little bit different, but I will talk about that just at the
So
end of
obviously
the
it's about
session.
knowing what, obviously reading, how many carbs are in the bits of food that you're putting into your mouth effectively, so that so you can measure it out throughout the
Yeah,
day. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, and you don't have to measure it or count grams or anything like that. You know, it's not necessary to go into that amount of detail, but um, you know, you want to get complex carbs and low GI carbs into your daily routine as much as possible, and then keep the high GI carbs for, um, you know, during races, coming up to races, so that you know you're just topping up your glycogen stores. But during your day on your regular diet, try and introduce as many complex carbs as
Can,
possible.
can you just briefly explain a complex carb? Just right down to the ones that are not.
So a complex carb is something that is it's a longer chain carbohydrate, so it takes longer time to break it down and absorb it, and so you get a more even distribution of sugar going into your bloodstream, rather than something like glucose or sugar or fructose is absorbed really quickly, and so you get this spike in blood sugar. Um,
So you
so that
Yeah, so your
yeah,
complex
so
carb would be typically your sweet potato or
yes, sweet potato, pumpkin, even white potato, rice. These are lower GI than you know,
are
sweet
we are we
foods
talking
and
specifically
sweet.
brown rice as opposed to white rice, or does it really not matter all that much?
Brown rice is certainly lower GI. It's slower absorbed. Some people, if people have problems with grains, they may find that eating a lot of brown rice causes them a bit of inflammation. But certainly white rice is the sugar is broken down a lot quicker and absorbed a lot quicker. So brown rice, probably better to actually mix it up a little bit and
Yeah,
have brown rice 3 or 4 times a week, and then perhaps white rice the day before races,
yeah.
just to give you those easier absorbed carbs.
Mhm.
Um, but it depends on whether grains upset you or not, whether you can tolerate rice with the husk on it. Um, I'm going to go into that a little bit more detail in the next slide. I just want to
Okay.
mention fructose, and fructose is different to glucose. So glucose, when you eat something with glucose in it, it's absorbed straight into your body straight away, and you can utilize it for energy straight away. So and it can go straight into glycogen. Fructose is different. It has to go to the liver and be broken down, and it can be broken down into some toxic compounds. So um, fructose puts a little bit more pressure on your body, so you do want to watch that you're not eating too much fructose.
So
Now,
what's
fructose and
what is
um,
fructose?
fructose is a type of sugar. Now, fruit contains fructose, and the fructose in fruit is generally okay because it's with fiber, and it's also, you're getting the vitamin C from the fruit, and you're also getting the nutrients, the flavonoids that are really important to keep inflammation down in our body. So when you eat a piece of fruit, the fructose in that is fine. But what's happening is in a lot of processed foods, we're getting the high fructose corn syrup. And I'm sure a lot of people on the webinar will have heard of this before. So what they do is they extract more fructose from the corn and put it into this high fructose corn syrup, and it's in lots and lots of processed foods.
Okay.
So what's happening is you're increasing your intake of fructose quite dramatically by eating these processed foods. And I'm talking about protein bars as well, and things that are marketed as sort of high energy foods for athletes.
Yeah.
So you're just going to watch how much fructose is in some of these, you know, muesli bars and these sort of things. They're all using high fructose corn syrup because it's so easy to make, and it's cheap. It's really, really cheap, so they use it in all of these processed foods.
Yeah.
So while you're eating 2 or 3 pieces of fruit per day and getting some fructose in that, that's absolutely fine. It's when you add in the processed foods that you start to run into problems with too much
So
fructose.
you really got to, if you, let's just say you're using protein bars, which I know some people grab protein bars on the run because it's the quick thing to do,
Mm,
literally,
yep.
just to check how much fructose is in that protein bar.
Yes,
Okay.
and this can affect, we know that fructose is not much good in weight gain as well, because um, you don't get the switching off the appetite in the same way as you do with glucose. Fructose, because it's broken down in the liver, it doesn't go through the same process. So you can eat loads of fructose and, and not feel satisfied. So, yeah, there's real problems with taking too much fructose in. So what you want to do is, look for good quality protein bars. And I know, there's no point saying that people don't ever eat these things, because, we're all eating on the run, and we're all busy, and sometimes that's what you need just to keep you going. But try and not rely on them as an everyday food. Just have them as an occasional snack, and look to see how much fructose is in them, and try and
What's a bad number? What's a number that, like, is there a number?
well, for weight loss, they're talking about no more than 25 grams of fructose per day, but for somebody who's running and an athlete, probably up to 50 grams of fructose is all right.
Yeah.
But you certainly don't want to be more than 100, because
Yeah.
that's going to cause a lot of inflammation. So the fruits that are high in fructose are the common fruits like apples, bananas, and pears. And these are sort of things that people use for energy. So you always see tennis players eating bananas.
Yeah.
So, 2 or 3 pieces of fruit per day will be fine. That will keep you under the 25 grams of
Yeah.
fructose.
Yeah.
Things that are low fructose, berries, we keep emphasizing berries as a great fruit, and they are for the bang for your buck that you get with berries is amazing, because they're low GI and they don't have much fructose in them, and they've got lots of antioxidants and vitamin C in them. So, in your smoothies and everything, berries are a great choice. And it ranges right through from raspberries and strawberries to acai berries and blueberries as well.
Mhm.
So they're a really good choice. Um, Watermelon's quite good because it's sort of medium level of fructose. Um, and onions, a lot of people don't realize that onions are quite high in fructose as well. So they can cause people problems. People who are gluten intolerant often have a bit of fructose intolerance as well. So they find that certain foods like onions and apples and pears give them gut pain and bloating and that sort of thing too. So that's something that just to get in touch with your body. And when you eat cleaner, when you take out the processed food, you're much more aware of what sits well with your body and what doesn't, what foods your body craves, what foods your body likes, and what helps your performance. So when you clean up your diet and get rid of all the processed food, your body really starts talking to you. And that's great when you can pick up on those things. So I just want to talk a little bit about carb addiction, because you do run the risk, if you're taking a lot of carbs because you are exercising a lot, you can run into this fluctuating blood sugar, which keeps you craving carbs all day. And in this graph you can see here is, this is your blood glucose going up and down with when you're eating. So this is over the period of a day. This is maybe 3 meals. So your blood pressure will go up quite quickly when you eat a meal with carbs in it. Obviously, if it's just low GI carbs, it will go up a little bit slower. But what happens then is your blood sugar goes up, and then your insulin goes up. So the insulin is the red one. And so there's a little bit of delay. You eat the carbs, then your insulin goes up, and then your carb levels start going down, because insulin starts pushing glucose out of your bloodstream. And around about here, you start feeling weak and tired and needing something to boost your energy again. So you're getting hypoglycemic, and what your body craves then is more carbs to bring your blood sugar up. So you start eating more carbs again, and the same thing happens, and over the day, and this is how carb addiction happens. So people are just eating carbs all the time, and their blood sugar's going up and down, and their insulin's going up and down. After 10 or 20 years of this, sometimes people end up with diabetes because their pancreas gets exhausted and can't keep producing all the insulin. The other problem with insulin is insulin works against fat loss. So when your insulin is high, your fat cells will not release fat if there's a lot of insulin around. So you cannot lose weight with this kind of pattern. It just doesn't happen. And this is where intermittent fasting is really good. Some of you may have heard of the 2 and 5 diet with 2 days of fasting per week. And this is what's the rationale behind it, is to bring your insulin down, and then your fat cells will release fat for you to use as energy. So eating a lot of carbs, simple carbs throughout the day like this you will be craving carbs all the time, and it takes about 2 weeks after stopping carbs before this carb addiction settles down. So when you introduce more protein and more fats into your diet, it's usually about 10 days to 2 weeks before you stop craving sugary foods and sugary drinks. But it is possible to do it.
Yeah, I've actually done it before a couple of times now, a few times.
Yep.
and then slowly but surely introduce stuff back in again. But I felt so much better, looked better, ran better when I'd sort of cut that yo out, because
Yes, absolutely. And this is where the fats are really important. So having healthy oils at the beginning of the day will stop this thing happening. So you'll get more even energy throughout the day. And also what healthy oils like coconut oil and olive oil do is they curb your appetite. So I'm sure some of you heard of leptin, which is your satiety hormone. So leptin is made in your fat cells, and when your fat cells are full, they make leptin, they send it to your brain to say, stop eating, we've got enough fat. But often in overweight people that doesn't work very well. And one of the ways to help it is to actually eat fat, because when you eat healthy oils, you actually make more leptin, and it gets through to the brain to turn your appetite off. And there's an easy way that you can prove this to yourself. You know those days when you're sort of nibbly and you're in and out of the fridge every day and nothing seems to satisfy you? Those are the days, this is what's going on in those days. Your leptin is not getting through and your appetite is switched on all day. And that's why you know, you're eating but you're not feeling satisfied. Your stomach is full but your brain hormones, appetite hormones, are still switched on. Hormones like ghrelin, which I always, you know, associate with growling. When your stomach is growling, your stomach makes ghrelin to tell you you're hungry. So the easy way to fix this, and you can try this yourself, is take a tablespoonful of coconut oil, and you'll find within an hour of taking that coconut oil, your appetite just settles down and you feel full and you feel satisfied. So having fats early in the day, so sort of morning tea, breakfast morning tea, that will encourage fat burning. It will settle down your appetite so you don't have the cravings, and it sets you up for a really good day's worth of energy, because again, those medium chain fats that are in coconut oil are easily broken down for energy. So in terms of what foods to eat, you know, if you can put coconut oil or coconut cream in your smoothies at breakfast time, or butter with, you know, whatever you're having at breakfast time. And then with my weight loss program, I get people to eat things like chocolate bliss balls with coconut oil in them for morning tea, or to make chocolate with coconut oil and raw chocolate. And that's a really good way to curb your appetite for the rest of the day.
Have our chocolate and eat it too.
Yeah, but it's got to be raw chocolate. It's got to be healthy chocolate.
Yeah.
And chocolate has some really good nutrients in it. It's got a lot of minerals like magnesium and zinc. So you want to access those from a raw chocolate, not from a roasted bean. So, so let's move on from that. So fructose versus glucose, we've talked a little bit about this. Glucose is easily absorbed. Fructose can make toxic products in the liver, just like alcohol. So you can get a bit of a hangover. If you have a big fructose day, you can have a bit of a hangover. 2 pieces of fruit per day is a good average to start, but it's the added fructose that's the real problem. So just watch with those lollies and processed foods. Talking a little bit about sports drinks versus water, a lot of people are, not sure what to do with this. We know that long runs, you do need to add in some sodium and glucose as well. Is really good to keep up your glycogen stores. So a good rule of thumb is runs longer than 2 hours to have sports drinks. And shorter runs you can do with just water, and then intermediate runs you can alternate between water and sport drink, or you can dilute the sport drink with water as like
I,
half and half.
I know I had a question actually the other day from someone, I'm not sure whether he's listening in or not, but about what to do if you don't want those sports drinks, because some people, is there something that's an alternative to a sports drink? I know it's
Yeah,
easy
well
to
you
have a
could
sports drink, but
yeah, you could make up your own sport drink, because I know there's a lot of colorings and preservatives and things in those um, sports drinks, especially with small kids taking them all the time. It can it's another source of artificial chemicals. So if you take a liter of water and add a teaspoonful of salt and then add some glucose, so it could either be fruit juice or some glucose or dextrose powder, you can make up your own sport drink
yep. You
and
can get the
um,
dextrose
and use that
powder
as
at
well.
any kind of sports shop that sells protein powders and stuff like that.
Yes, well, you can. What I use is branched chain amino acids, and a lot of them have got glucose or dextrose in them. So you could, again, some of those are quite processed though, and they've got artificial flavors in them. But if you can get, I know the ones without any glucose in them, they do tend to taste a bit revolting. But you could, in theory, make up your own with branched chain amino acids, some glucose, and a little bit of sodium, like a teaspoon in a litre,
Yeah.
and that would be equivalent to a sport drink.
So when you say glucose, are you saying like fruit juice? But
Well, you can either go for fruit juice, or you could, if you wanted to be exact about it, you could use glucose powder or dextrose powder, which you can actually buy,
yeah,
and then you can measure out how much. Um, so ideally, fresh fruit is better because um, you're getting flavonoids and you're getting vitamin C along with the glucose. So perhaps the juice of an orange, and then also what's really good is juice of a lemon.
mm,
So lemon's very alkalizing, and it's also got lots of vitamin C in it. So you could make up juice of an orange, juice of a lemon, teaspoon of salt, and then that's your glucose, that's your sport drink. And then if you want to add some amino acids as well, that's going to be a brilliant drink for long distances.
yeah. So I'm assuming.
But realistically, a lot of people just buy the sports drinks.
Yeah. I know that, and it's quite interesting you say, just back that slide there about, an hour, hours runs over 2 hours, that's when you need your sports drinks. So, in the marathons usually, and especially the Gold Coast one, I know that, and a couple of the other ones, you have drink stations, and you'll have water on the drink station, and you'll have, depending who the sponsor is, a sports
Yep.
drink at the drink station as well. And I quite often have people asking me, well, should I be drinking every drink station? So I think the drink stations are around about 5Ks apart, or should I be drinking a sports drink every drink station? I'm guessing by your rule of thumb here, no, I certainly don't. But I guess with anything like that, it's, train and
Yeah.
well and truly before you get to the race to know exactly what your body needs on the day.
Yes, I mean, there's no hard and fast rules because everybody's different, and the critical thing is to try all of this out in your training, so that on the day of the race, there's nothing that you haven't done before. There's no surprises, there's no shocks. You know exactly how much water you need to drink, how frequently, and you know exactly how your body responds to sports drinks and also the gels and that sort of thing, so that you're prepared. So do lots of experimentation way back in your training runs with the gels and the carbs. I would say certainly maybe alternate with sports drinks and water. I've seen people who just drinking sports drinks and they do get into problems with dehydration. But on the other hand, if you just drink water, you're probably going to be losing out in sodium, particularly if you're in a hot climate where you're going to be sweating a lot. So like in the Gold Coast Marathon, it's probably going to be quite warm, and so people would need to replace sodium and other salts, potassium as well, that they're going to lose in their sweat. So a sport drink maybe every half hour or every hour, and then water in between.
Yeah.
Also, loading in the days before the race is really important, so that you're not needing to load with water so much during the race, but it's all been done in advance.
Yeah.
So that those 2 or 3 days before the race, you want to make sure that you're really well hydrated, because it does take time for the water to get from when you drink it to all the places it needs to go, particularly the muscles in your feet, where people get cramps and that sort of thing. That's a long way from your stomach, and so they're going to be getting the fluids and the electrolytes last. So you want to make sure that in the days before the race that you're well hydrated with water, so that on the day of the race you're only just topping up. You're not and so you just need the minimum to keep you going during the race, so that you're not running to the toilet before the race as well, and also that during the race you're not needing to pass urine as well.
Yeah.
Okay. So just fat loading before the race. The recommendation is, and of course this is just a general recommendation, is 10 days before a race start fat loading. More than 50% of your calories from good quality fats and oils, so all those things we talked about. And what you want really is variety. Variety is the key here, because each food, and it doesn't matter whether you're talking about vegetables or fruit or protein, you want the biggest variety from different sources as possible, because they all have different nutrients and all have different benefits. So you want to be sampling from, coconut oil, olive oil, butter, ghee, nut oils, avocados. Over the week you want to have lots of different sources of fats and oils. So and then, so that's 10 days before the race, you're doing lots of fat loading, and hopefully way back, 12 or 20 weeks before, you'll have done the same to induce your fat burning enzymes in your training. And then 3 days before the race, you start carb loading again, and at that stage you can probably have about 70% from carbs, and you also preload with water 2 to 3 days out, so that everything is well hydrated, and your glycogen stores are full, and your fat burning enzymes are fighting fit.
Yeah, awesome.
Okay, and then just to finish off, a little bit about protein. Most people know a lot about protein already. Again, you want the recommendations for protein is a sort of minimum of around 1 gram per kilogram per weight. That's for people who aren't exercising. People who are doing a lot of exercise, like training for a marathon, you probably need to have 2 to 3 grams of protein per kilogram of your weight, realistically, to make sure that you don't get burnt out and overtraining syndrome. And again, it's an individual thing. You want to make sure that you know how much protein you do best on, and you want to make sure those sources of protein are absolutely top-notch. So organic meats, if you're a vegetarian, make sure you source from a variety so that you get all of the amino acids. And also meat eaters should be looking for vegetarian sources of protein as well. So mixing it up with things like hemp protein is really good. I know a lot of bodybuilders rely on hemp, vegetarian bodybuilders rely on hemp and spirulina. These are great to put in your smoothies, and you can also put them in other, sprinkle them on salads and that sort of thing, to get up your intake of protein from really healthy sources. During races and things, branched chain amino acids, so these are taking out the essential amino acids out of the protein, and you can buy them as powders, so that the protein's already broken down into the amino acids and they're absorbed really quickly. So these are good before and during training to get amino acids into the muscles pretty quickly.
So what do you buy? Is that something that you can buy, did you say?
Yeah, you can buy those from shops that sell protein powders and things. So it just means that the protein's already, the breakdown process has already started. It just makes it a little bit easier on your body.
So what would you ask
But
for
again,
then?
well, it's well known. If you just go in and ask for branched chain amino acids,
Okay.
they'll usually have a range, 2 or 3 different brands of amino acids. They come in different flavors. So watermelon and grape and all this sort of thing. I find in endurance events that that's really good because it's a mixture of glucose and the amino acids. So you're getting your glucose in for energy, and you're also getting your amino acids in to keep your protein, your muscle fed with the amino acids that it needs. And it's also good for muscle building after training, so that we know that if you take protein within an hour of exercising, that you're going to use those amino acids or protein to build muscle. So during and after is pretty good.
So do the branch chain amino acids come in those gels that people take, or
I haven't seen them in the gels. I've just seen them in the powder, but they may well be available.
okay.
I just haven't seen them myself.
Okay.
But as I say, they're easily absorbed, and you've got the carbs and the protein in the one thing, which is great for endurance events. When you're choosing protein, whey is better than casein. Casein tends to cause a bit of inflammation in the body. So if you're going to use protein powders, then go for whey rather than casein. And also things like hemp and chia, quinoa, some of these vegetarian sources of protein that are becoming available now are great because they've got all of the amino acids, and they're a good alternative to just eating meat and dairy all the time. And then just with overtraining, that can be a sign of protein deficiency. So as I said, experiment with upping your protein intake, and if you're still feeling fatigued, then perhaps increase your carb intake as well. So just to finish off, and I know we've gone over time a little bit, I'd say all of the advice is general, and there's some people who put out regimes that basically works for, they find it works for them. It won't necessarily work for you, so you've got to experiment, you've got to try things out yourself, because everybody is different genetically, and so we all respond a little bit differently, and we all use energy differently. So the key is to start early, to get your plan working, what's best for you. So as I said, on the day of the race, there's absolutely no surprises. It's all, you've tried it all before, you know exactly what to do and when, and you're feeling confident and relaxed, and then you'll have a really enjoyable race.
And that is really, really important too, that you do have that, and thank you, Shirley, that you do have that great race. There is nothing worse, like seriously, than getting out there. If you haven't run one before, getting out there and starting off, and you're strong and you're excited and you've been training this for a while and that, and you get out there and you're just, as you're going through, you're getting more and more exhausted, and you're just, not feeling right and whatever else. I mean, you just don't want that. When you're having a really good race, when your body's going at peak performance, you're on this huge big high, and it's just an amazing buzz, and you can really enjoy it. Those are just the moments that you really want to savor, and it's really not much between doing it well and not doing it well. Well, there is a lot there, but you don't have to do that much more to do it well realistically. You just have to do it a lot smarter, and with your nutrition and with your training, and that be a lot smarter. Now, how at the beginning of this presentation I said to you guys that if you needed some help, if you wanted some extra help along the way, I was going to show you, how we can help you, or where you can go to get extra information. Well, what we've done is we've put together a 12-week marathon nutritional program, okay? So I hope you don't mind if I go into a little bit more detail about this, because, you've got this information now. You know what foods you should be eating and what foods you shouldn't be eating. You know how to utilize fat for energy. Shirley's gone through some great recipes. She's gone through some great information in that. But what's going to happen next? Are you going to sit on the, sit back and you'll get back into your kitchen, you'll get back into your routine and whatever else, and you'll be grabbing that easy, carbohydrate laden food and whatever else. So what I find is I have a really good training program. So I get up in the morning and I know that I've got to go for a 2 hour run, and my heart rate's got to be in zone 2 or 3 and whatever else, and then followed by several hill sprints, and then the next day I've got to get up and do 4 to beta sprints or something, and the following day I've got to go out for an hour or so, right? So you understand what I mean? I follow that plan. If I didn't have that plan, I wouldn't succeed in my marathon. But it's very much the same with the nutritional side of things as well. Like, I'm just finding that when I go onto nutritional plans, when I follow a nutritional plan at the same time that I do a marathon, or when I do an event and whatnot, I just have a much better result in the end. But I also feel a lot better, and my body looks so much better, and I have abs and stuff like that, and I'm at optimal race weight. So I know I really need this, but I can only do it with a plan. And most other people, you'll find that you'll probably be exactly the same. So that's why I've asked Dr. Shirley to put together this 12-week marathon nutritional program. So I'm just going to run through exactly what this is about for you guys, if you don't mind. And at the end of this, if you can, we're going to take some question and answers, okay? So this program, it is designed to get your body into shape for your marathon, okay? It's to focus on helping you lose those few extra pounds if that's what you want to do, and all the while teaching your body how to metabolize fat first, okay, without actually risking if it's a marathon or any of your event results. So realistically, if you want to be leaner, fitter, and have a more fighting body to get through your training, then this program is for you. So I just find taking the absolute guesswork out of what you need to eat is just the easiest way to go forward and have your best performance. And we want to take the guesswork out so that you can actually concentrate on your training. Okay, so this program is designed by Shirley. And I'm just going to run through what you get with this program, okay? So it's a 12-week marathon nutritional program with meal plans. So you get meal plans and meal options for breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, your pre-workout and your post-workout. And so this is really to take the guesswork out of your eating. You get specific meal plans for taper and lead up to your event as well. So this is going to be a 12-week program, okay? But what we're going to do is Dr. Shirley's going to put a 2-week plan if you were, 2 weeks out from an event as well. So, if you've got an event in, let's just say, 8 weeks, okay, so you might want to do 6 weeks of the plan and then 2 weeks of the taper, or the 2 weeks out from the race, pre-race nutritional preparation as well, okay? If you've got an event and it's 14 weeks out, well, you'll want to do the 12 weeks and then do the 2 weeks of, taper as well, okay? So it's designed so that, you can include your taper in there. It's got 2 actually weeks of taper in there as well. So what I love about, Shirley's plans are that, she has a shopping list, so you know exactly what you need to buy to prepare for your meals, and she's got some really, really cool recipes. So you've heard about her bliss balls that she was just talking about, and she's got all sorts of other nutritious, delicious, and easy to prepare recipes so that you can enjoy your food without the hassle of worrying about what to eat. And also we're going to be holding monthly webinars as well to keep you on track and up to date with any changes, to keep you on track with your training, just so that you can get on there and ask some questions as well. But if in between those webinars you've got questions, we're going to give you access to a closed marathon Facebook group. This is for members only. So it's for members of this nutritional program and members of my marathon training programs as well, okay? So we can answer any of your questions there. You can chat to others and support each other in these group as well, okay? So as a bit of a bonus for the action takers as well, is I'm going to offer you a one-on-one call with me to discuss your marathon goals. So what we'll do is we'll put together your plan of attack to make sure that you achieve those goals as well. So once you sign up, you get that one-on-one call with me. But what's really, really great about this is I don't want you, and Dr. Shirley doesn't want you entering into anything that, or signing up and then deciding that it's not for you, okay? So we're going to offer you a money back guarantee. So we're going to give you 2 weeks of the program to try. You get your call with me. You get the 2 weeks of the program, so you get 2 weeks of nutritional recipes and your meal plans and that for 2 weeks. If at the end of those 2 weeks you are not happy, then we will give your money back, okay? 100% of your money back, guaranteed, and as our way of saying sorry, okay? So the special price for the webinar, this is Dr. Shirley's put this together for us, which is great. She usually charges probably twice as much for her nutritional programs that she puts together for people. So we're really, really lucky, but her webinar special is $390. Actually, I forgot to say also here that if you can't do the $390 up front, we do have split payments. You'll just be paying that little bit more, but you get split payments, and we'll have 3 payments, monthly payments of $149. So if you can't do the $390 up front, I still want you guys involved. I still want you guys to have access to Dr. Shirley's program. So it'll be $149 times 3 payments, and they're just paid monthly. So guys, that's less than $30 a week, So the amount of money that you will be saving following these meal plans, and not going out and buying junk food and being able to eat right, you'll actually be saving that a week anyway. So, I mean, to me, it's an absolute no-brainer. I'm really, really excited about this. So, go to runmarathontraining.com/marathon-nutrition-programs. I'll also put this link in the chat box for you guys as well, okay? Now, what happens when you sign up for the program, okay? So you'll click on that link. You'll select whether you're going to do the 12-week program, pay up in front, $390, or the 12-week program where you pay 3 payments, okay? From there, you'll be taken to PayPal. It doesn't matter whether you've got a PayPal account or not. You'll be taken to PayPal. And I think it gives you an option if you haven't got a PayPal account, but you you'll sign up there, you'll make the payment, then you'll be redirected to a form. Please enter your details into this form so that we can email you straight away time to book the appointment and to fill out the questionnaire, and then we'll get the meal plan out to you, okay? So just to run through that again, so that you know. So after you click the link, runmarathontraining.com/marathon-nutrition-programs, you'll then be taken to a PayPal. From PayPal, once you've paid, you'll be redirected to somewhere to fill out your form. Please fill out that form, then check your email. You might have to check your spam or your promotions folder, because they might end up in there, where you will get confirmation. You need to click that confirmation, and then we'll send out appointment times for you to book and your questionnaire for you to fill out, so that we can get your nutrition plan to you, okay? Fantastic. And like I said, it's a money back guarantee on that. But now we know that some other people on the program might say, well, a 12-week program isn't right for me right now, the 12-week nutrition program, and you might want a more personalized nutrition program. So I'm just going to run through this. This is designed obviously to get your body into shape as well, but really to focus on your specific goals, okay? So whether it be a better time, losing those few extra pounds, or not losing weight if you're already lean, this program will make sure you are in peak condition to metabolize fat first. The program is personally tailored to you and your situation. We design the program specifically around your marathon training program, so exactly, or your any training program. If you're doing a 10K, a half marathon, so exactly what you need to eat on the days that you're doing the most work, so you don't end up being depleted. We take all the guesswork out of what you need to eat for best performance, so you can really concentrate on your training, okay? So you get, just to run through that, you get a personalized nutritional program designed for the length of time that fits in with your training program. So it's however long you've got for your training program. It's got meal plans including breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, pre-workout, post-workout, to take the guesswork out of your eating. We've got specific meal plans for taper and lead up to the event. We've got pre-race and race nutritional preparation, so you are race ready for the day. Also a shopping list, so you know exactly what you need to buy and prepare for your meals. There's nutritious and delicious recipes as well to take the hassle out of worrying about what you can eat. We also do monthly one-on-one calls to discuss your progress and check up and adjust as necessary. Okay, so we'll do, in fact, we'll do a couple of weeks, and then we'll call up and we'll discuss where you're at another couple of weeks, and then you'll get your monthly calls, personal calls, one-on-one calls. You get 4 lifeline calls throughout the program as well. Okay, so those are the emergencies. Just when you need some advice in a rush, you call me up and I can help you. Okay, also monthly nutritional webinars to keep you on track, and access to the closed marathon Facebook group as well. Okay, now again, it's the same. You go to runmarathontraining.com / marathon nutrition programs. I'll put the link in the chat box. Now the webinar special for this is $249 a month. Okay, like I said, it's a more personalized program tailored specifically to your specific training requirements, where you get a lot more one-on-one time with us. To make sure that it's perfectly tailored. So however long that your training program is for. Shirley again has offered this one at a really, really special price. She usually charges probably triple for this on when she coaches clients one-on-one. So you're getting a really, really great deal here. So I just really want you all you guys to have the best chance possible of being successful in your training. Getting the right body, getting in shape and everything. I'm truly passionate about this. I'm really excited. So I hope you guys are too. Like I said, you'll go to that link. Then you can pick. It's the second option 2. It's the gold option, and you'll click on the PayPal button. You'll be taken to PayPal. From there, you'll be redirected to a form. Please fill out the form. Go to your email. Check if it's not in your inbox. It'll be in your spam or your promotions box. Confirm that you want the information. You'll be sent out your appointment times and a questionnaire. Fill them out, and then we can get started as well. So that's pretty much it for today. Now what we're going to do is we're going to open it up for questions as well before we get going. By the way, this is a webinar special. We do, we do reward action takers. With this particular last program, the personalised one, Shirley can actually only take on 10 people anyway. So it's really because it's a very intensive hands-on working with people, and I work with people very closely. So we can only take 10 on option. The gold option, the personalised training program. So if that's something you want, then please click on the button today and go through and sign up, and we look forward to helping you with your marathon nutrition, helping you succeed. Like I said, I'm really excited about this. So now, like I said, we're going to open up to questions.